welcome to the channel. I hope you are all fit and well and enjoying your fishing. Now today's tying is something a little bit different, and it's almost an open secret, but as I've said, nobody really speaks about it. It's a fly that has a very good pedigree here in Spain, and it has very specific purpose, and I'll speak about when and where a little bit later on. So let's get into the tying. Now, this is a size 18 round bend hook, and it has a 2.3 copper bead. Now, whilst this can be fished as an individual fly with maybe 0.09 or less, which is about 7x, this can also be used for dry dropper, which I like to use it for. So let's get into the tying. I'm using black 12-0 thread, and I'm just going to set the bead. And trim off the excess thread. Right, now this does have a red tag, and in this instance I'm using some flat red tinsel, and this is Gutmann number 8054. So I'm just going to snip a piece off. And tie that in. And wind down to the bend of the hook, like so. I'm going to trim up the excess. And now before I wind on the tag, I'm going to just put a little bit of glue onto the hook and the tinsel to hold it in place. Flat tinsels can sometimes slip. I'm going to wind this thread up the shank to make it easier to tie in the tinsel. Do it. That back down and tie off the tinsel. And trim up the excess. Now this also has a rib which is very specific, and this is Textreme X type, and as you can see it's a UV pearl number 18, and obviously it has the UV properties. And I'll trim a piece off and we'll tie that in as well. And wind up towards the bead and trim off the excess. Right, now this does have a pupa type shape, so it needs to be built up to be a lot thicker than it is, and specifically around the shoulder area towards the thorax, to give it this pupa shape. Just take your time, build it up. Something like that. Before I tie on this UV tinsel, I'm going to just put some glue on the top of the fly. Now you'll probably only need 3 turns for this. It's a smallish fly. And tie it off at the bead. And trim up the excess. Now at this stage I am going to give it a coat of UV varnish. Try and keep it as even as possible. And give that a zap. Right, now this will have a collar as it's a pupa style, and I'm going to use some black beaver fur or beaver dubbing, which is quite fine. If you've got some other fine dubbing, that's fine too, if you'll excuse the pun, but you won't need a lot. That is sufficient. Just take off that excess, and before I tie it off I'm going to just put a little bit of glue onto the thread. And tie off the fly. And I'm just going to gently brush out that collar, just a little. There. And that is the fly finished. Okay, when and where? As I've already said, competition anglers use this, and especially in the last session, for several reasons. The last session will have seen 2 days of fishing, and the fish will have seen just about every type of fly. And this is a little bit different. Now, as I've said, you'll be fishing quite a fine line with this. Now, you can fish it as a dry dropper, or you can use it as a single fly. Now, the UV obviously is there for deeper water, but also as the day goes on, it's the last session and the light will be totally different. It may be fading. You may have had bad light all day when you might have fished this earlier. But that's the reason that it has the UV. So at the end of the day, a great little fly. Now, you can tie it with different colored beads. This is a size 18 with a silver bead, and this is a size 16 with a 2.8 silver bead. And these two are the same as I've just tied. So, as I say, not a secret, but not a fly that competition anglers speak about, but is used regularly, especially on the last session. Perfect and designed for brown trout, but I have caught rainbow trout with this fly, especially as a dry dropper. I hope you enjoyed the tying. Thanks for viewing, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.